Join us as career changers, company leaders, industry experts, and others who have been in your shoes share their stories, insights, and lessons learned to help you find enjoyment through employment in the tech world. I'm Nemo Ashong, and this is the Empjoyment Podcast.
Hey there, employees, and welcome to episode 15. Today's episode is a little bit different than normal. I'm actually going to give you a chance to just be a fly on the wall for a conversation that I had with Patrick Burke, who's a senior director of product and analytics at Scientific Games Interactive. It's located in Iowa. And I think that just puts a smile on my face because when I think about tech, or when I think a lot of people think about tech, they might think about it in some of like the larger hubs of where tech might be taking place. But I think this really goes to show how you can get involved in tech wherever you happen to be based on what's in the area and what your passions and what you're actually being called to do. So I said this episode's different because in my journey to find out the best ways to help you employees, I spend time calling and researching with a number of different people. And my conversation with Patrick just ended up transforming into something where there was so much value being given that I didn't want to go and translate his words into something different. So, with his permission, we just hit the record button on the conversation, and just took off from there. So, you're going to be hearing me explore ways that I can better serve you, but his answers, I think, are going to be something that you can go ahead and put into action right away. We're starting out the conversation just to kind of frame things for you. You're starting in the middle. So we've been talking for a little bit, but this part of the conversation is talking about what Patrick considers and calls his X factors. And these generally are different qualities or ways that people approach situations at work and in life that can't necessarily be taught, that can't necessarily be learned from just going to a classroom and taking a class on it. Instead, they're experienced and they're developed over time. And I wanted to make sure that you had this insight into how Patrick, as a hiring manager, thinks about, and as a manager in general, thinks about how to bring on new people onto his team and what makes people successful on his team. It's a really interesting conversation, and hopefully we'll be able to have Patrick back to share his full journey with us. But I mean, quite frankly, I just couldn't hold this back. And Patrick, if you're listening to this, and I hope you are, thank you for letting us share this in here because we want to just make sure that everyone's able to move forward as they can. And if you're enjoying things like this, and if you enjoy this kind of conversation, just these open conversations, let me know. The best way to do that is just to come be a part of the Empjoyment community over at empjoyment.com/community, or by texting the word community to 33444 and following the steps there. That will get you in direct contact with me and the other employees out there who are all moving forward in our journey. If community is not your thing, feel free to just leave an honest review on iTunes, which I read, and I'll use that to help me guide where things should go in the future. So with that there, let's go ahead and get this episode. I was going to say party, so why not? Let's go ahead and get this party started with a conversation with Patrick Burke. Thanks and enjoy. You were telling us a little bit here about like the pillars and what you called the X factors that go across multiple dimensions.
Right. I mean, any discipline doesn't matter who you are. I mean, you have to have the technical skills that line up to what you're trying to accomplish. I could want to be a really good surgeon, but you don't want me cutting into you. But provided that you have the skills, and in the end, usually you're talking about splitting hairs between people that all have the technical skills when you get through, you look at resumes and things, but the things that you can't teach people that they have to teach themselves is they have to have humility, like real humility, to where they are actively seeking criticism to help them improve, but then also they accept it when they're not asking for it. And sometimes that's hard. That's harder. Right? A lot of people will ask for it and they'll only listen if they asked, and that sort of checks a box, but it's not the same. And then the next one in my mind is a positive attitude. And to me, this is there's a simple attitude here that says, when something happens to you, or especially in a workplace, something comes in, or your boss says something, or maybe the shareholder, or whatever, it depends on whatever position you're in, you can say, how is this bad for me? Or like, why this sucks. You can say that. Or you can say, how could this be good for me? Like where could I make this turn into a good thing? And those sorts of things are invaluable. The next one I thought is team player. And all these things sound like, I mean, I'm totally aware that they sound like buzzwords that you say, okay, somebody read a book that said all these things. But really, when I've noticed people that have been good at it, people that aren't, you say, what is it that's holding this person back that's really good? And when something happens, if they accept the fact that, they have a how can I help attitude, right? As opposed to, this is because of this thing that went wrong, right? And that where you sort of take the mantle for somebody else and hold them up and give other people credit at all times, but then also take responsibility for anything that seems to be going wrong. Those things, that's the team player aspect. I don't have these things written down in front of me, but I've spent a lot of time on them. But really, those three were the ones that I kind of latched onto the most.
Yeah. Oh, I will say, Patrick, it's really, really awesome. Like hearing you like talk through this here. And I know you were calling it like the X Factor. It's been something that has been on my mind as I keep exploring enjoyment and like, how do I add value to people? And one of the things that comes to mind is like, my mind is like that tech mindset, I feel like there are ways, there are approaches that, tech companies or people that are successful continue to have. And it's like that same type of mindset that goes on. And I feel like what you've done here you've been able to like really kind of parse out like what some of those things are and how they come in there. And I really want to also just say what's been helpful for me as you're describing this has been like being able to show the juxtaposition, almost like here goes the word. We all know the buzzword. Fine. Team player, right? Sure, yeah. You might think team player is I'm staying until X, like what it boils down to for those that are actually good at it is like these three, when it matters and people are like saying, are you a team player or not? Like that's like these are the three things that like, so like you were saying that you had to kind of discover this and you were figuring this out as you were managing others through this year. I'm just kind of curious as to like how that kind of evolved as like, okay, this is something I need to put a focus on, and how you're seeing, the next group of people that are coming in to the workplace. Like how actually, can I scratch all that there? You said something really earlier. You said like, it's not something that can be taught, but it's something that people need to train themselves on. How do you find it like that? How do you start training yourself on something like this?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think actually the way that I would start with is the very first piece. The reason why it's the cornerstone is because you have to have it or none of the rest is possible. And that's humility. Because if you can recognize where you have opportunities to get better, that's the thing that will allow you to want to teach yourself. Okay? If you don't have that, somebody can't make you have a positive attitude. You can't even tell you that you don't have a positive attitude, because that's very poorly received if you don't have a positive attitude, right? Or if you don't have that humility. So that's the one piece that you have to come to it yourself and understand the value of it. I think that's the biggest thing is, look, accepting criticism. You talk about this when you're a kindergartner, all the way up through everywhere. It's like you have to accept constructive criticism, and what's the best way to give feedback to people, and how do you, like, there's books about strategies about how to give feedback to people. I mean, people have done this stuff for a long time, and most of it's focused around how you can impact other people's ability to accept feedback, right? And it's kind of depressing for them to say that it's not really up to you. Like, you have to create an environment that somebody wants, that really, really hungers for that feedback. And the only way to really get that is to expose the fruits of it to them and really show what you'll gain if you open the door here. And you have to make yourself vulnerable. That's absolutely a side effect of that. But if you do, I mean, that's the only way you can do something that's more than what you can do yourself. Any kind of team structure, The whole point is that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And that can't be true unless you're allowing other people to help you get better than what you would be on your own.
Wow. I think I appreciate it, because I think that's something that I heard it. They're like the intangibles. These are the things that you can't teach people, but it's like you had said this earlier. It's like, if they have it, everything else is possible. And I really in my mind, there's something that has been there. I'd love to get your thoughts on this. Like, I have a thought around a growth mindset. So like people who are consistently and continuously learning, and also like just a feeling of abundance in a sense, where it's like, you know what, there's enough for everyone.
I listen to that podcast.
Yeah. What podcast is that?
It's what's it called? It's a life experiment or something. Sarah, my wife, recommended it to me. It's like, it's a scarcity. It's a feeling of scarcity and how limited you are if you have a scarcity mindset. If you have a growth mindset, you actually enjoy things even when they're scarce. Or it's a feeling of abundance, I think is what it is. I can't remember the name of the podcast now, which is a failing.
No, not at all. If you end up remembering, just let me know, because like I've been voraciously devouring podcasts again, and it's been. I
will find that and send it to you, because that's I can find it for sure. I'm not going to take the time right now, but
all right. Yeah, that's like, so I've gotten the chance now to start like interviewing and talking to people that are working in tech. And one thing that just keeps coming up as a trend is that level of like that growth mindset. But I think that like what's really interesting to me is like, as you were talking about the X factor, it's like before, like there might be a precursor to that, like the humility to accept that you don't know it all, but also that you can grow and like get more from that. So
I did this exercise that I called a standard is what came up with. And it's just, you rank yourself 1, 2, or 3 on all the core tenets of what the job responsibilities are. 1 would be improvement opportunity. 2 is standard. 3 is elite. That's it. Those are your only choices. And I had somebody that the vast majority were 3s, and one of the 3s was humility. And it was crushing to me, because at that point it's like, I can't help you. Like I want to find a way to help you, but that's the biggest blocker there is. And you can be technically sound, you have all the upward potential in the universe, but that becomes a major blocker.
Yeah.
And the way that I approached it back, because I think they were kind of afraid of being graded, and they didn't want to give themselves too low of a score. And I think sometimes that comes into play. The way I handled it was saying, I want the whole sheet to average to 2.
Yeah.
Right. So now, if you wanted to do that, you can say I'm standard but not great at anything. But if you're going to be above average, maybe it's your own personal average. Maybe you redefine what you think average is, right? And I think that went a long ways. But that was the thing. The whole reason I wanted to do the exercise was sort of to show that opportunity. And it backfired on me in a big way.
Well, it's hard, but it's what you're saying here, and like, so I'll be honest, Patrick. Like, I look at this stuff, and anything that's like really hard to do, those are the things that most interest me. So like the idea of like that, like finding ways for people to like train themselves on this type of like these types of actions there, and it's interesting. It's this idea of like, there's a part of it that's like a lot of self-awareness, and that's. There's a lot that goes into that, because I don't think any of us want, like you said, no one wants to go through life and be like, no, I'm not self-aware, but it does kind of drag, like come into play there. I'll be kind of curious too, because you were talking a little bit earlier around like kind of like some like the generational stuff that you've found. I'm really, really interested in building this in a way that helps people from all over, right? And I think like that age part is definitely and generational portion is a barrier as well. And if part of it is helping them know more about this X factor and say like, hey, like you know what, you might have been great at your other job, but like this is a world that is consistently evolving. Like you cannot possibly know it all, because like in every second there's something new. Like I would love to just get your thoughts on like bridging the gap from a kind of a generational perspective, and maybe anything that you've seen to be successful or not.
Yeah, I mean, as much as there's something to be said about, the generation that you were raised in or the different values and all this kind of stuff. I mean, I think that's there, but the thing that I've noticed the most is really more of a combination of your life experience. Is that my wife's on? But it's really more a combination of what your life experiences are. We have a lot of people that have never had a job before, right? And this is their first job, and they're really excited, and they're going to do this. And we have another magical thing, which is great employee retention, which means we have someone that's their first job, and then they stay in that job for a long time, and they never seen anything else, right? And there's kind of, I don't want to call it the old guard, but there's the people that have been there for quite some time, and we've seen some things. We went through a stage where the company was struggled, and almost went under, and we're working extra hours and taking pay cuts and all this kind of stuff. And then we come in with this sort of new wave of people that didn't experience that kind of adversity. And really the hard thing, and we try to put a finger on it, we have great culture in the company, but some of that is, when you hear work hard, play hard, everybody says that, and you work really hard, and then you want to pick up the slack so that the guy next to you doesn't get let down, and all this kind of stuff's true. And one of the reasons why it worked so well for us is that we went through adversity. It used to be every year in July, we're making a retail game. You had to print thousands of copies, right, of this casino that you buy at Best Buy, and it has to be done on July 5th. So if it's not, we don't make payroll, right? So the month before that, which is it was same song and dance every year, which is kind of part of the nature of a company like this. But so we get to the point where we're close to deadlines, and everybody's working 80-hour weeks, and we're and still finding a way to have fun with it. We're all working together small. It's like 30 people, and that's kind of what it was. And then when that's over and we're kind of in the off time, we're living fast and loose and free and happy and joking around and setting up an arcade in the office and playing pinball and stuff like this. Well, then fast forward 5-6 years, and all these young guys come in, they're like, there's pinball and there's pool table, and we can do all this kind of stuff. And they didn't go through the pain. They don't see the play hard part of it. And then if you start there and then you have to turn the screws one day and something gets hard, they're resentful of it, where the people that saw it in the other order were like, this is part of it. This is how we earn the fun. We go through the battle, and then we get to reap the rewards later. But if you do it in the wrong order, it doesn't internalize, and you become sort of entitled, or you have sort of entitled mindset. Yeah. That's not everybody, but that's the type of thing that you have to battle against, because it's a natural human reaction where you come into this environment and we sell it. We said, this is fun. This is what our culture is. It's something to embrace. And that's the thing that we realize. It's like, how do we get these people without scaring them with missing payroll and certain things like this? Because, we're in a really good spot right now. We're up to, 400 or 500 employees globally now.
Nice.
300. But so we're not worried about paying rent anymore, and you can't fake it. But we have shareholders. We need to grow for all these other reasons. Yeah. It's very difficult to internalize for the employee that just wants to play some pool, and they see everybody else having fun. And, so that's the struggle there, is to say, how do we make them want success?
Can we play with that a little bit here, Patrick? I don't have, so as you were saying this, there's just a couple of things that were going through my mind. I would love to just toss it out to see if
sure.
Really thought makes sense. So there were a couple of different words that were really coming through, where you're experiencing adversity, right? Mm-hmm. And anything with experience in front of it is for me, I just start thinking through that, because I've found that is in my mind the best way to learn. Humility, empathy, all I think keeps happening when you have multiple experiences, right? Mm-hmm. So there's that portion where you're I can't, you don't know what it was like when there was no pinball here, and what we did to get the pinball and coming in there. And you also had mentioned this thing about the battle there, and you're it is a battle. It's a thing that keeps coming on. And what was going through my mind was how to say it? it's something that I've tried. So I would love to get your thoughts on how it would be, because it's like my approach to it, which is like, this is the playing field, or this is the level. Like, it's a level playing field, and this is the playing field that we're at right now. And it's like, when you started, the playing field was like 5 or 6 levels below, you know, and like, over time you had your various victories, and that helped you move up another playing field. And you're like, we're getting that pinball. We have the money. Like, everything's cool. Or rent's there. We have this level of like status quo. Let's get more people on board to like reduce the amount of flow there. And what I'm thinking about is like, is there a way to like set as part of like the new people coming in to this world of like, what we do here is that we continuously raise a level. So you're here and you see a pinball machine and you get to play pool and all that. Great. Like, that's table stakes. Like, you're here to like we as an organization continuously like raise that level up, you know? So like a part of you should be uncomfortable that we don't have a pool, you know, or whatever it is. Like this is not it. We haven't arrived yet. You know, I guess that's really, it's like the thought of, almost in a sense, like complacency, because a lot of like the difficult things are done. Or like, you know, at least the ones where it's like make or break on a daily basis, you know? So it's like, it's a little less trial by fire. And I think that's also like probably why you have the people that are there, because they're like, all right, we're out of that trial by fire world. I'm ready for something that's a little bit more consistent, a little bit more expected. I'm kind of curious on your thoughts on that.
That's kind of, you know, we've been fortunate. I mean, we don't grow to the size that we are for this. I mean, we make games, so that helps, right? You got to have that mantra behind you, and we have it on the walls everywhere. It says we make games. So sometimes you use it sarcastically or whatever, but somebody's really stressing about something. It's like, look, we make games, right?
Nice.
So, okay, well, we could have it worse, right? Yeah. But you know, we've had some tremendous success, and you double, you triple year over year, and you keep doing this. Eventually, you're not doubling in a year anymore. It's hard, you know. You're making millions at this point, and it's like, well, it's harder to double the big numbers, right? Yeah. And I think you can only ride people. Say, oh, this year we're going to double again. We're like, man, we need a break. You know,
absolutely.
And that makes sense. And I mean, I think we really try to keep everyone motivated there. But I mean, I think really the thing that I've noticed over time that's been something that you have to proactively take care of is you have to feel like you're winning when you're winning. And we've gone through phases where we've been in tremendous growth, but the stress was there, and it was just like, or maybe we're growing and it just feels like it got ho hum, and the stress, people were still stressed out even though we're growing at a tremendous rate. And some of the leadership got together and said, this is a problem, because what happens when our growth slows? We got nowhere to go. Like morale wise, we got nowhere to go. So if we don't feel great when we're winning, what happens when we plateau or we take a step back, which we have historically? You go up and you take a step back and you leap forward, you know. And when you're growing, you have to feel like you're winning, or else you have problems, because when you go backwards, you got nowhere to go. You can't go anywhere from depressed. It's just you start losing employees, certainly lose their goodwill, culture suffers. So that's something we have to be proactive with, and that's been a big challenge, especially when you're in tech, because the swings are just so drastic. You know, I mean, you can go from, I mean, the whole games industry, mobile games industry is in the billions. I mean, and it grows every year. And someone new will come from nowhere and then rocket up to sort of the top of the charts, and then maybe the next month they'll be gone, right? And then maybe they'll stick, maybe they'll be gone. You know, our company is homegrown in Iowa. We've added, you know, office in Tel Aviv, Israel, and Austin, Texas, and we're the number 2 social casino company in the whole world, which is kind of a sad. We really love, more fun to say number 1, but we're number 2 in the whole world, and we grew organically from a small group, you know. And there's something to be proud of for there, but that you get some complacency after a time, because you're like, why do we need to grow anymore, right? We're still ahead of everybody else, you know. number one bought a whole bunch of companies to get there, so they cheated. And they're like, there's such a gap there that it's impossible to catch. So we should just be happy with number two, and it's really easy to have that mentality. But you want people to hunger for it just for the sake of success. It's fun to win. It's more fun when you win.
I think so there's a couple of things that are coming to mind where it's like, I think it goes back again to those intrinsic, those intangibles, the things that you did like train, where it's like, yes, you make gains, but like this whole thing is a game. You know what I mean? And how like the rules and what does winning actually look like here? And as you're describing this year, I'm like I can see how like you all have like gained that success over time. And it's a curious place to be at right now with kind of like balancing that level of like it's interesting where you're like it feels like complacency, but at the same time it's like we're all working pretty hard at the same time. So are we actually celebrating the wins and the victories that we're having along the way? You have offices in Iowa and in Tel Aviv there. So are most people in Iowa then?
We have about half. Yeah. And we have about a third, probably maybe about a quarter in Austin, Texas, now a quarter in Israel.
Got you. Oh, okay. And so like in terms of like the feeling like you're winning, right? And like in the times when you are, like, what are the things that you've done to like try and make that come to life?
Yeah, we really try to celebrate. Like our center program, it has to be pretty good. If you're going to drive people constantly, you got to be able to incentivize them. Our founder of the division that we're in, who started the company 20 years ago that just made slot games, he just believes so strongly in success, or in the success that comes from culture. And so, we've done a number of sort of incentive programs where we say, you get to this benchmark, or if you invent something that drives revenue or meets these business goals that are important to us, we'll reward you. Except the reward isn't going to be cash. Never is. It's always an event. It's a memory, right? And the people groan when they hear that. Just give me $100 or something. And he's like, no, because then you'll spend it on groceries and you'll forget that you got it.
Yeah.
But if I get you a limo, or we go as a team and we go ride go-karts all day, and somebody wins the medal, the first place medal that's made out of plastic or whatever, and then they hang it on their desk in their office, or whatever that is. It's like those are the things that you're going to still talk about 6 months down the road in a year, and those are the things that when something else comes along, or somebody says, hey, I want to bounce to a new thing, you won't want to leave behind the memories and the people that you got there. And that's why we have such great employee retention. That's why we've been able to be successful without living in a tech hub. Like we're in the middle of Iowa. I can see a cornfield from my desk, and one day that'll turn into more tech, I'm sure. But for right now, and the other companies that are sort of competing against us, they have to be scratching their heads because they're like, where do you hire people? You can't just go over to Zynga or go to, one of the, Google or Facebook, or steal some of these hires, just by bouncing people back and forth. So how do you get people to come to Cedar Falls? And the answer that we always have is that we try to get people to come, and sometimes it works, but when we get them, we keep them, and we don't have, there's none of the turnover that comes from being in those. So you get to be the biggest fish in a small pond, but then you just say, man, maybe our mid-level talent isn't the same as even the weakest of Google's employees or whatever, some of these big, crazy tech monsters, but somehow we still manage to be successful because we get them to care more, work harder, and stay in their company for a while so that they can get comfortable and they can understand the processes, and they can thrive in that environment more than they would if they were bouncing around in Silicon Valley.
Wow. Oh, because that was, I'm not gonna lie, I was all on the back of my mind. I was like, is Iowa just like, a bubbling tech spot, or, especially for people that aren't in these hub areas?
Yeah, I mean, there's tech in Iowa for sure. I mean, there's Des Moines really coming up. That they have data centers and things, but there's not games, right? And that's one thing that we've kind of learned. You talk about what does it take to get into the tech industry. You're like, I want to do this, and having a tech background is, I suppose, nice, but it is useless in a lot of ways if we're trying to hire people that make games, right? And I would, and I talked. I'm good friends with the CTO, and he's like, I'm done hiring just smart programmers. I want people that want to make games. They will want to do what we do, and they have passion for that. And however they came across their tech prowess, they're going to apply it because they care about how we operate, and they sort of make it their business to know what's unique about our business. And then they're always more successful, always.
So I'm smiling here because it's like, it sounds like, you're looking for people who are interested in the problem that you're trying to solve, and it's like great. We can build the skills there, but are you interested in games? Like, do you think about games? Do you think about like the mechanics of it? Are you thinking about what will make this like how this actually operates such that you can then apply those other skills to making the game in such a great way?
When you tease it out and you interview people and they come in and they worked at a financial firm or something, and it's like, hey, I can write queries. I'm going to be an analyst. And they come in and you can tell that they did research to learn some buzzwords, but they haven't internalized your problems. They say, you know what? I bet you have this problem, and I think I can help you solve it. That's way more evident and powerful than somebody who checked your website. They learned some buzzwords. They know where your offices are located, And sometimes it's really evident because they'll give us information that's out of date, or that it's about a different arm of the business, has nothing to do with us. And it's like,
it's not. It's just not there. It's not there, and you immediately put it. And it's like it's like, thanks for trying, but if you put that same amount of effort into the things that are important to us as an organization, and I really like that, like being able to understand what those problems are. Because I feel like that drives so much there. So Patrick, I'm going to have to step out in just a little bit, but I want to make sure that you've been really great just kind of sharing your story and giving me some insight there. Do you have any questions for me? Is there anything I can do to help you out?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, I like connecting with good people, who are trying to help people. I mean, I think there's intrinsic value in that. We're always hiring. We want this kind of hungry people, and I was talking to the CEO a couple months back. He said that two things you never regret personnel wise. You never regret just going after your superstars. People that are just movers, you'll find a spot for them. If you don't have one, you never regret it. And you also don't regret parting ways with bad apples. They could be technically sound, they could be great at what they do, but if they're poisonous, when you look back in hindsight, you never regret that. So obviously we're looking for, I'm seeking that kind of person that has that X factor, and we'll find a way to put them in. So that's kind of always on my mind. And you want to work with fun people, and you want to work with people with great attitudes, and that's sort of attractive. So that's always there. But just professionally, the more people you know, the more you kind of get outside of your own little bubble. Yeah. Same thing I'm preaching about humility is you got to find somebody who can be a true mentor to you, that you will just sit back and respect what they have to say. Yeah. And that's probably the thing that I've gained the most in the last couple of years. We had a consultant that came in that had this experience, and it's just that was a humbling experience for me. And you don't just get one mentor and say, well, I've done the mentor thing. Now I'm there. So I'm always looking for something that's outside of my circle of what I think I know.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, Patrick, if that's the case, do you mind if I like keep you in the loop as to how things go? And like, if there's someone out there that kind of just hearing the things that you're currently working on, but just B, also just hearing that you're like interested in growing overall and continuing to expand from that perspective. I'd love to keep you in touch with like the people that I come across along my journey as well.
Absolutely. Please do.
Okay. And if anything comes up at all where you're like, hey, just either a fresh set of eyes or a different, just to go back and forth a little bit, or, if you have any thoughts, please don't hesitate to reach out and let me know, because quite frankly, I'm really interested in helping. I like just hearing about like your story and like how you went about doing this. I'm like, oh, what can I do? Like, I just want to keep adding value to this here, because I feel like what you have going on just continues to add value to others. So
yeah, awesome.
Well, thank you for making the time tonight to talk, and look forward to hopefully getting a chance to chat again later on. Okay.
Yeah, sounds great. Great. All right. You have a good day. You good morning.
Yes, I will. Take care. So there you have it, employees. We're trying something different here today because, quite frankly, we need to make sure that you're getting the value that you can directly from hiring managers and senior members of tech organizations. One of the things that I love most about this here is that Patrick did not bring up one specific thing that was so rooted in technical ability that no one else could do it. In fact, he said, we're looking for people who love games. He said, we're looking for people who have the X factor. Then he went by and he described what that is. But he also said that they can't often just be learned. They have to be more or less acquired through experiences. So what I'd like for you to do is take one step forward in your experience and moving this from insight to action, and come join us over in the Employment community to talk about your journey for the day. And that joining is to pick one of the X factors that Patrick described and let us know your thoughts on that X factor and how you have demonstrated that in the last 6 months. Who you are and the things you do speak far louder than what you say you are and what you say you would do. So go over to the Employment community. We'll be sitting there waiting and ready with open arms and open fingers on the keyboard to embrace you and welcome you in. All you have to do is go over to empjoyment.com/community or text the word empjoyment to 33444 and you'll get a chance to work with us inside of the Employment community. We'd love to have you, and we'd love to hear your thoughts on this. And I'll also be remiss if I didn't give you another opportunity to sign up for a special offer that I'm extending to employees right now, to have a complimentary one-on-one deep coaching session with Nemo to explore your journey and help you come up with a personalized path from where you are right now to your destination of transitioning into a job in tech. This coaching session is not for everyone. It's for people who are ready to commit to making strides in their experience and in their journey. And so if this is something that you feel you're ready for, let me know by going to empjoyment.com/coaching and filling out the coaching application there. I'll be selecting people on a handcrafted basis to spend some one-on-one time diving into your story, your background, and your future. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to continuing these conversations. Here's to experiencing joy each and every day. Take care, employees.